Seders are always hard, right? I find them to always feel good, and I love everyone around the table. But there is so much you have to do in order to have any kind of Seder. And often I feel like I'm spending all of my time cooking and cleaning, and so I don't spiritually prepare for Seder. And this year, there were 6 teenagers at my Seder table. They were too cool to sing the 4 questions. They would try to dodge their obligation to read, and then only read in monotone. Perhaps that's why tonight I want to focus on the 4 children from the Seder, and actually not all 4 of them, just 2. You would think Rabbi's kids, it would be the wise son, but no. I am connecting more with the stories of the wicked and the child who doesn't even know enough to ask on this Passover. The Rasha, the wicked child, is what the kids would call nowadays a rage baiter. Rage baiters say things to deliberately make the person they're interacting with angry. The rabbis say this is the Rasha because they ask a question in a way that provokes the Seder leader. Another kid at the Seder is the one who is less Jewishly educated, the one who does not know enough to even know what to ask. So how do we deal with these teens, hypothetical sons, at our Seder table? Who better to ask than the rabbis who wrote our Haggadah? First, we read about the Rasha. Now, do I actually think one of my kids is a Rasha? No way. I know that my son is rage baiting. That's what he's doing. And I know that he's good because I know him. I know his story. But what about this hypothetical kid of the 4 sons? Is this not a son of the Seder leader in the Haggadah? Does this parent really not know their own child enough to know that they are asking a question to be purposefully provocative? Rabbi Aaron Moss, an Orthodox rabbi in Sydney, teaches, behind his wickedness there is a story. There is a reason why he allowed his innocent soul to become corrupted by his evil side and his pure mind twisted by lower tendencies. I only can say this to you, not to my kid. Okay. Identify the root cause, then neutralize it. Reverse the process that led him astray and bring him back to his inner goodness. This is what the Haggadah means when it says, Lehakte et shinav. You should blunt his teeth, defang him, remove the sharpness and the bitterness from his bite, smooth out his rough edges, heal his wounds, and allow the goodness of his soul to surface. Take the wicked child and make him righteous. I believe this ties too into the teaching about the child who doesn't know how to ask. The Haggadah tells us, at petachlo, you open up for him. I love that. Open up for him. He doesn't know ask what to say, so open up. Tell him about yourself. Tell him your story, how your father was a wandering Aramean, how God saved you from Egypt. This remedy is so true. When we share our story, when we open up for each other, we create a relational bond. So, when we share our story, the one who doesn't know enough to know what to ask will know what to ask. They know more about us. They know what to ask about next, how to engage. Maybe now that we have been vulnerable, they can be vulnerable in turn. Speaking of sharing our stories, our hurts, our experiences, our joys. We go back to that Russia. Can we get them to open up? Why do they think the way they do? Can we learn of their story as we try to share our own as well? There's a story in the Talmud of Reish Lakish. He was a bandit, a gang leader, someone who most people saw as beyond hope and salvation. He had grown up in a Jewish home but left the path and was a leader in the crime world. Yet, when Rabbi Yochanan meets him in a pool bathing, he sees something in Reish Lakish. He does not call him a Rasha. He tells him, "You should use your strength for Torah." The two become best friends, study partners, brothers-in-law, and because of them, there is more Torah in the world. Who would have thought that a gang leader would become one of the great rabbis of the Talmud? Who would have taken the time to find out? Rabbi Yochanan was able to see that there is little difference between the wise son and the Rasha. And it's not just the Seder. We live in a time where we have so little tolerance for people who think differently than we do. You agree with me? You're the wise son. You don't know enough to ask. Let me tell you what I think so you can think just like me. You think differently? Well, you must be Rasha. You must be evil. One Seder's wise son is another Seder's wicked son. So what do we do? In her book, Braving the Wilderness, Brene Brown says, people are hard to hate up close. Move in. Speak truth to bull crap. That's my edited version. Be civil, hold hands with strangers, strong back, soft front, wild heart. People are hard to hate up close. Proverbs teaches us, if your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. It reminds me of the story of Derek Black, the Stormfront white supremacist heir, and how he was slowly converted from believing his rhetoric to questioning and then denying it by being invited to Shabbos dinners and being questioned by his peers. When we keep the wise and the wicked and the simple son at the same table as the one who doesn't know how to ask, we get the opportunity to share our story with all of them. We get the benefit of each hearing the answers to the questions the other sons ask. But to do this, we all have to stay at the table. So how do we do this in the broader world? Well, as we've learned, it's easier to see that the Rasha isn't all bad when we know them, that it's hard to hate up close, that we should feed our enemies, challenge ourselves to stay seated. We can also look to Pirkei Avot, which teaches us that the wise person learns from everyone. And so get curious. Ask ourselves, what can I learn from this person rather than how can I prove them wrong? Ask them open-ended questions. Can you tell me more about how you came to that point of view? And don't just listen. Listen actively. Listen with the goal of understanding the why behind their belief, rather than scanning for weaknesses in order to attack. And more than anything, stop labeling people good, bad, stupid, and so on. Assume good intent, because none of us think we're the wicked child. Happy Passover.